In physiology, we often talk about the body making adjustments to whatever is happening in our surrounding environment, right? And so the idea of homeostasis is not equilibrium, and it doesn't mean that things inside of your body never change. In fact, things inside of your body are changing all the time, right? But homeostasis is essentially our ability to maintain a stable internal environment despite a changing external environment. So, homeostasis is maintaining stable internal environment despite a changing external environment. So again, that doesn't mean that things inside of our body doesn't change. It means that we're able to regulate it. And oftentimes we regulate it using these things called feedback loops. And there are two different types of feedback loops that we talk about. There's something known as a positive feedback loop, and there's something known as a negative feedback loop. A lot of times when we talk about feedback loops, we tend to talk about negative feedback loops because they are the most common. Positive feedback loops are relatively rare and they often lead to damage inside of the body. So let's first think about a negative feedback loop. A negative feedback loop is one that results in a decrease in the deviation from a set point. Okay. So if a negative feedback loop is a decrease in the deviation from the set point, what do you think your positive feedback loop is? That's an increase in the deviation from a set point. So again, let's start and let's talk about our negative feedback loop first. Okay, so imagine that you are happy and you go outside, and it's winter time right now in Ohio when I'm making this video, right? And you go outside and it is cold. Okay, so your body temperature is going to decrease, right? So that makes you unhappy, right? So what you are going to do is you will start to initiate some sort of process that helps you heat up, like you are going to shiver, okay? And when you shiver, right, that is going to increase your body temperature, okay, and make you happy again, right? So if we look at this, right, one way to think about this is if we have a number line, and let's say your base temperature is here, okay, and we go outside and our temperature comes down. And let's say our body temperature drops to here, right? As we activate our shivering protocol, our body temperature comes up. So notice that that change or that deviation from the set point, right, was initially this, and we brought it to here, right? So we decreased our deviation from that set point, right? So that is the negative feedback. Okay, the same thing can happen as if you go outside summertime and you do some yard work or working out or play some sports or something like that. Your body temperature is going to increase, right? So you're going to go in this direction. And what's going to happen is you'll activate some sort of protocol like sweating that'll bring your temperature down and closer to that certain value. Okay, and so that happens a lot, not just with temperature, but that'll happen with things like your blood glucose levels, and we'll talk about those as we get there. Okay. Now, in your positive feedback loop, this is one that is not as common, but it results in an increase in the deviation from that set point. The most common example that is provided is uterine contraction during child labor and birth. So let's imagine that we have a uterus, right? And inside of here, we have a growing little person, okay? And this little person is getting big and it's starting to push and exert force on that uterine wall, right? And so what happens is there are stretch receptors on that uterine wall that say we don't like a whole lot of stretch, set point of 0. And then that baby, as it grows, right, is going to start and it's going to increase the force on that uterine wall. So what's going to happen is a hormone is going to get released. That hormone is known as oxytocin. And what it's going to do is it's going to cause smooth muscle in the uterus to contract, which makes the uterus smaller, right? Or the space inside of the uterus smaller. And what happens now is that you have your growing little baby in there. And now, because the space is smaller, it's really pushing hard on the uterine wall and it's increasing the amount of force, right? So notice our original deviation was here. And then after our physiological response, our deviation went to here. So we got further away from that set point, okay? So one of the things that I like to talk about to sort of drive positive feedback home a little bit is imagine that you are out and about and you are in the swamps of Louisiana and you get bitten by an alligator, right? And so you have an appendage, let's call this your arm, and your arm has a big gash in it. And you are losing blood out to the environment, going out into the swamp there. Okay? Now, with you losing blood, what's going to happen to your blood pressure? Your blood pressure is going to go down, right? Because you're losing blood volume. So one of the things that's going to happen is your heart is going to say, oh, we need to correct this blood pressure. We need to put more blood into the system. And so your heart rate is going to go up and it's going to pump more blood out into your systemic circulation. But if you still have this open wound, right, what's going to happen to that more blood now that is being pumped out by the heart? Well, it's just going to go out into the environment. So what happens to your blood volume as you lose it to the swamps of Louisiana? But it's going to go down again, right? And so your blood pressure is going to go down yet again, which is then going to lead to, that's right, your heart rate to go up. Right? And so this, if left unchecked or unattended to, right, can lead to your heart rate going way up and leading to cardiac shock. So that's sort of a way to show that positive feedback can often be dangerous or detrimental to the body. Okay, so take some time and think about what sort of situations might lead to either a positive or negative feedback loop.